because they can't print money.
Well, yeah, if we have a whole world of strong cultural Bitcoiners, right? And Bitcoin is seen, and the bastardization of money is seen to be one of the great evils of the world, which currently it is not. But if it ever gets that way, and I have hope for this future because, we are sort of canaries in the coal mines. We're like just regular guys who started going deep about the history of money. Like that's a weird thing. I didn't see that happening for my life. You probably didn't see it happening for your life. So maybe we are the vanguard of the Cultural Revolution in which we, really instill it in our children and grandchildren that like, hey, if you fuck up the money, I will come back and fucking haunt you. You know what I mean? Like I will come back from the goddamn grave. Like it needs to be that severe because you cannot. This is the cycle. Every time loose fiscal policy destroys great nations. And it's because weak, children who are the inheritors of the establishment. This is back to the inheritor conversation we're having. Weak children who are the inheritors of the establishment, who don't appreciate what they've been given, who believe life should go on and be easy. What they do is they just do a little trick where they fake growth. They always do it. So going off the gold standard was a trick. It was just a little trick to fake growth for a while. And when you're the person who decides to make that decision, it's like the greatest thing ever for you because you get to keep the party going while bearing none of the consequences because by the time the consequences come due, you'll be dead. So that's why it keeps happening. It's a very human cycle over and over again. And so if Bitcoin's going to break it, we're going to have an extremely strong cultural understanding of Bitcoin across the entire world, right? Or at least in the world's great nations where it is understood that the government is not allowed to print currency ever. And that Bitcoin is the currency. And if the government is not managing its treasury correctly, that's what we have the referendum on. And we don't do anything to keep the party going.
We hang them.
We have to force austerity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we hang them.
That's the argument for monarchy is in monarchy, you only have to hang one guy.
Yeah. And they have to know they can be hung.
By the way, the problem with systems like monarchy or democracy is not the monarch or, the bureaucrats. It's the nobles. The nobles are always the problem. Okay. The nobles are actually who Bitcoiners are fighting against. The nobles are the cantillionaires. They are the corrupt capitalist class who uses the state as a husk, as a weapon, as a shield against the poor and to further enrich themselves. Those are the real people that we are in a protracted battle with, okay? And the best you can ever do when new elites go against old elites is you can get about half the seats at the table. That's the best you can do because there is nothing that prevents current elites from porting their wealth into Bitcoin. You can take your billions in ill-gotten gains that you got off of whatever you did in fiat land. Look at EOS. EOS has 130,000. But they have a Michael Saylor amount of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
You can take your ill-gotten gains and you can port them directly into Bitcoin. There's nothing any of us can do to prevent that. Now, not all of the new elite or the old elites are going to the landed gentry. They're not going to all get this message in time. And so about half of them are going to lose and be replaced by Bitcoiners. And what happens is when you join the table, you're suddenly in an advanced conversation about rule making. That's what elite societies do. They make rules, okay? And Bitcoiners now are going to get about half the say as to what the rules are. Because here's the real truth. No matter how rich...
we've already set a very important set of rules ourselves.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing is that no matter how rich you are, there is a global cabal that controls all of the guns and writes all of the rules, and none of us are in the club, okay? But we're trying to get into the club. And our big thing that we're bringing to the club, just like the New York Agreement, is saying, listen, you guys have been used to sitting at this table and deciding the future of all of humanity. And all we are doing is bringing a rule set that we do not control, and we're putting it in the middle of the table and we're saying, we are going to now all abide by this rule set. That's the big idea that's happening between the new elites and the old elites. You don't get to change the rules on the fly anymore. That game is over.
That is a beautiful way to end this conversation.